Hello everybody, welcome back. It's the Mac, and welcome back to the channel. And for another coverage of a John Tiller software game here. It's the 7 Years' War, a Musket and Pike series from John Tiller. So this is kind of a different than the other games I cover here, usually World War II stuff, but decided to give a go on this title because it's actually an age of war that is quite interesting. So the game has been, it's not new, it's been around, but it's been updated as many of the John Tiller titles have been. So quite different, but as I've said before in the John Tiller games, the system is the same basically, but there are tweaks here and there so they fit the actual time period that the game plays out. So let's, before we get into the game here and start looking around and see game mechanics and play and stuff, let's have a look at the website. So as you all know, the John Tiller software website, the products are in different categories depending on what's your preference in war, tactical war, I guess. So this falls under the Musket and Pike series. And if you click there, it goes... so the game in the Musket and Pike series covers many different campaigns during the new age of muskets prior to the French and Indian Wars. The game scales 100-meter hexes and about 10-minute turns. Now, this could actually vary. It depends on how the scenario your player is scripted. Some turns are actually 15 minutes, but I guess it could be as low as 10 minutes a turn. And units are normally company, battery, squadron, battalion level there. Yeah, so this is the 7 year. There are two titles currently on the website that covers this era. The 7 Year War and the Renaissance. So the 7 Year War is sort of 18th century warfare. And Renaissance is, well, that would be 16th century or even, I guess, 15th century warfare. So two pretty cool titles. I'm going to be covering the Renaissance as well, if I can get my hands on a copy there. But the 7 Year War is what we're covering this time here. So it's a very fascinating time period. I was kind of rusty on the history on this. I mean, I knew about it because even my own home country, Sweden, was actually part in this war in Europe. And it's actually a very important war. And some even regard it as the actual First World War, because there was a lot of nations involved, and it was kind of a land dispute war, as the World War I and World War II was as well. Maybe not so much a war of ideologies, but more a territorial war that spanned the globe. And what was interesting about it was the colonies in the Americas was dominated by the British and the French, at least North America. And there was the war actually started there, the hostilities of these conquering empires. And France was a pretty big empire at the time as well, as of course Great Britain was. And it started with a territorial fight there to take control of the colonies. And it spilled out in Europe. I guess many of the countries there and empires, you could say, the Prussian Empire and the Austrian Empire was very big at the time as well. They probably took advantage of the hostilities there, and it was like a major conflict that blew up. And well, you could pause the video and read this. I guess we'll tell you sort of a quick rundown of the background story there. What's good about this game is it has a heck of a lot of scenarios, and there's actually 3 campaigns that comes with it as well. We're not going to be looking into the campaigns at this time. Maybe in the future I'll actually play a campaign and post it. We'll see if you guys want to see that. But there's a lot of scenarios here. There's 78 standard scenarios and 26 specifically scripted to play against the AI. And different zoom levels as the other games, and stuff like that. There's actually a lot of, I think there's over 100 scenarios in the game, actually. And that's what it looks like here, so do check that out. The user manual is always good to have a look in. It's different. You'll see the game mechanics are obviously different, since we're in the musket era and cavalry and formation fighting and muskets and all that. It's not World War II with the Panzer Grenadiers and motorized infantry and tanks and air strikes and all that. It's definitely different, and sometimes frustrating when you march your soldiers to death, basically. But that's how they duked it out in those days. Yeah, what's different about as well is there's turns versus phases. I really like this phased combat, actually. It actually represents the warfare better than to do turns, because you really get the feel of the marching up your infantry formation within musket range, get ready for combat, lay the volley of fire, and then maybe charge, or that's how warfare was at this time. So this is how it's divided up. There you have so the side A moves in the movement phase, and then B gets a defensive phase, and then A, as they have probably formed up, will fire, and then maybe they will charge or not, and then B gets to move his forces, and the A gets to fire as they are deploying, and then B has an offensive fire phase, and then if they want to charge, they'll do that. So it's kind of different, but I like it. I really like it. And they have different kinds of units, of course. So cavalry, there's a lot of cavalry, of course, but cavalry is not that powerful as you would think, because this is musket warfare they have bayonets and swords and pikes and all sorts of nasty stuff. So cavalry is mostly good for scouting and skirmishing, and if you have the enemy on the run, as cavalry has been good for all ages, is to charge down your opponent and sort of run them into the ground, basically. Artillery is interesting. I haven't really done a lot of research and look around with kind of artillery, but the definitely different kinds of artillery at this. They have like howitzers, early howitzers, and big just cannons firing nasty bolts of death into into ranks. So that's interesting. You can cause some horrendous casualties to your opponent with the artillery. You have the skirmishers. It's like light infantry units that only some actual units can deploy skirmishers. Most usually are light formations, not your heavy formations. They don't have the skirmish capabilities, because they're moving in tight formation and all that. You have supplies and apparently ships as well. I haven't had a look at that, but so you have different kind of lines. Formations. You have line, column. You'll see as I play that reminds a lot of like Panzer campaigns, where you got when you're in travel mode and when you are sort of not in travel mode. That's what basically this is, when you are deployed, a line formation, and column is sort of travel mode there. So, and mounted cavalry are mounted. Artillery is limbered as they are moving, and unlimbered when they're ready to fire. Skirmish units, and you have some shorted line and extended line. I haven't actually had a look at this yet, but that's interesting, I guess. So that's the manual there. There's some big changes you'll see. This is the game folder here as you have installed the game. This is all the files here. You have all your important PDFs to have a look at. You have the getting started. The getting started scenarios, actually, I've played it already to get familiar with the game. It's really good. It's one of the better getting started files, I think. I've noticed in some older titles, the getting started can sometimes be a bit thin. You know, you want more in there, but this one's really good. You really get a real good all around idea of the game and how the mechanics work. So if you buy this game, I recommend you to definitely play that getting started. It's basically all you need. That's all I needed to sort of learn the game. But then if you want to go dive into the more details and stuff, do read the manual as well. And then you have the user manual there. This is a good file. The operations. Here, basically, all the scenarios in the game are being told here. And there's there's 78 here. What's good here, it says that the first 26 scenarios are specifically focused to play against the AI, where the script is actually for both sides. So you can pick any side you want, and the AI should be scripted to fight you in those. But some scenarios are noted as best played from the other side. It'll tell you in the description which side it actually might be the best experience to play. The second grouping there, 52 scenarios, are all scenarios with variants of hypothetical situations included. So, well, I'm kind of rusty on the 7-Year War history. I had a look at a couple of videos and I did some reading, and what was kind of big, I guess, and you got the Wikipedia, you can have a look at what's going on. What was kind of different, I guess, would be that Prussia was actually allied with Britain. And of course, Britain and France were enemies. And the Austrian Empire was, let's see so I don't say the wrong thing here now, but I think Austria was actually allied with France as well. And the Prussians and the Brits, the British were allied. Those were the biggest players, I guess, in the fight. And then, of course, Russia makes a debut in this as a formidable foe, definitely. And I haven't had a look at those guys, the Russians yet, but I guess that would be fun to play a scenario with the Russians, actually. So it says here that the Prussians became part of a coalition led by Britain, which also included the longtime Prussian competitor Hanover. And the Austrians ended centuries of conflict by allying with France. Yeah, there you have it. So, okay. And it was quite a big ally. I mean, the allies were Austria, France, Saxony, Sweden, Russia, and Spain. So those were the allies here. And yeah, so have a read here, or if you got some good books about it, or you probably, some of you guys are experts and already know all the history here, probably. But I think the Prussian general, the Prussian king at the moment, or emperor, what you would call him, would be that famous, what was he called? Frederick II, was it? Oh, yeah, I'm kind of rusty. But he made a campaign and took over some. He wanted to retake some territory lost there from the War of the Austrian Succession there. Anyway, you guys have to read it because my history here is rusty. But anyway, that's the basics of the story there. And of course, the game covers a shitload of battles, and definitely all the major important battles, and there's actually some less known fights as well. Yeah, if you look at the folder here, the minor actions, yeah, so there are some minor actions that are actually included in this game, and that's pretty cool. I think there even are some battles that took place on the American continent as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you got Quebec and St. Louis here. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so, if you look in here, in the manual it says it's up to 78 scenarios. Let me just check that. What is the last scenario here? Yeah, it's Freiburg fixed Prussians. Yeah, and then you have all these extra here that actually brings you up to 122 scenarios. So I think this was like an expansion pack or something. I think I read it somewhere. This was like an expansion that some people did. That was I guess this Gary McKellen is behind these. Rich Hamilton as well. Yeah, so you can see here 200 turns. No, so it says scenario 1 to 10 in a series of scenarios designed solely for the enjoyment of players. This scenario uses the Coolest Stuff map. So these are actually maps with all the units. Just to I mean, they're not probably meant to be played, but it's more to get like an overview of what it looked like. These with all the forces on the board, basically. So bunch of great scenarios here. I played this just get to know the game, and as I said before, it was a great title there. And I've actually played this because this is a very interesting battle actually, and I wanted to just try it. It was pretty long; it's 54 turns. It took me a couple of days to complete it, but it was fun. I actually played the Prussians here. To attack the Austrians there, and it was kind of easy versus the AI there. It was a landslide victory, but still it was fun to reenact what actually happened there. So it's a good thing they've actually typed it here, AI, so you know that these are actually scripted for the it goes up to the scenario 26 here. And then I guess it will say Lobsitz. Yeah, so it actually goes. So this maybe is not really that scripted for the. This could probably be better to play versus a human opponent, I guess. It said something in the in the PDF here. The second grouping is with variants of hypothetical situations included. Yeah, so maybe probably best to play against a human opponent. I mean, many of these games, many of the John Tiller games are actually the best experience to play versus a human opponent because the AI is somewhat weak in many of the games. So bear that in mind. Right, so I did play that. So I was thinking actually playing this to show you guys a bit of the game here. It sounded interesting. It's sort of a follow-up from this here. It's April 21st, 1757, when Frederick, yes, well, it's Frederick the Great, that was the Prussian leader there, advanced into Bohemia to start the 1757 campaign. The Austrians were still trying to gather their troops. One of those isolated corps that Count von Königsegg tried to delay a force of Prussians under Bevern at Reichenberg. Bevern decided to attack, despite the fact that the Austrians slightly outnumbered him and were posted in a strong defensive position. So I was trying to give the Austrians a go here. I did play the Prussians before, so I want to try the Austrians. Why not? Let's try that. All right. We'll be manual. We get the AI to be the Prussians there. Now there are a couple of optional rules. I haven't actually had a look at these. I'm sort of keeping them as default. One thing I know is if you unclick the manual defensive fire, I think that's the one, you will play the game in turns. And if this is ticked, you'll play it in phases. So that's a good thing to know if you want to try this. I read that somewhere in the manual that if you unclick this, you will play it in turns. But we'll stick to the phases there. I mean, could quickly maybe have a look here. If there is I haven't looked this up, so I don't know if where that could be with the optional rules. Usually somewhere in the actually I could probably search for it here. Optional rules. Let's see here. Yeah, you got multiple melees are possible if the optional rule is selected. Other infantry cavalry. See the optional main program file under optional rules. Did I miss it? Optional rules. It's usually sometimes in the end of the documents. Maybe not. Maybe up here somewhere. Unit formations, unit values. Probably not. Oh well, I can't find it because I haven't actually done research prior to this. I thought it would be easy to find it. Maybe here, command. Supply. No. Maybe they are explained. Usually they are explained in every sort of, yeah, whatever, man. In every, sometimes they will be brought up in the text covering the certain things. But let's just keep it at default here. So, all right, just fire it up here. So let's go. Right. So yeah, this is so this is the phased turns here. You have a movement phase for the Prussians. All right, so the computer's going to have a go first and move up the Prussians. So the Prussians are actually attacking this Austrian army that's forming up. They're sort of still recruiting and forming up formations, and the Prussians are on the march here. But according to the text here, we are slightly outnumbering the enemy there, so we'll see about that. And we are in the defense. This is the defense mission, so we got to hold the line here as the Prussians are going to be attacking here. So yeah, when the computer's finished here, I'll show you the different zoom levels of the game. I like the graphics. I like the. They've actually made one of these the 2D graphics update for these games as well. Okay, so here we go. We have a defensive fire phase now. So this is the far out zoom of the 2D. So you could barely see anything here. I guess if you hold Shift, you'll have the Reichenberg is here, and so if you have this is the zoom out 2D. This is the default zoom now. The ones that you have the recent updates on the Panzer campaigns updates when you can zoom in. And you have a zoomed out 3D view and a like a normal 3D view, I guess, zoomed in. So yeah, the graphics are okay, I guess, if you like to play like this. I don't know. It's not the best, but yeah, I guess I could get used to it if I played it like this. Why not? I find it hard to actually see the different aspects of the map. I mean, what's a hill? I mean, I can just make out like this is a crest of a hill here, and there's a little gully there, and but it's kind of hard to see. It's easier like this. It's much more clear to see it. Yeah. So this is what the game looks like here. You zoom operates basically the same as all the other titles. And you have like a toolbar here. There are some differences, I guess. You're gonna have to have to turn your formations left or right. You could do about phase. This is the end turn, next phase button. You have the change line and column quick there. You can, if you select the unit, you can make skirmish units out of them. These are extended line and change block. Yeah, you can charge. You can kick in the charge thing with your cavalry. You have an artillery dialogue. So here's all my artillery I have. 12 pounders, 6 pounders, lots of 6 pounders. We have plenty of artillery, it seems. And this is the resolve melee. It's called melee, not assaulting. It's you go into melee and duke it out. And zoom levels, toggle units. You can take them off to see what the terrain looks like there. You have bases, yeah. Leaders on top. This could be good. You can see that there's actually a leader there. Objectives, on and off. Visibility. Contours. That's a good one to have clicked, actually. The contours are more clear now. Full screen mode. Jump. Yeah, you have the jump map. You can jump around. Next stack. Like if you have fixed units, spotted units. Yeah. Highlight organizations, good. All right, so here's the game. So we have a defensive. We have a defensive fire now, and I guess there's nothing in range for us here. So what kind of stuff we got here? So we obviously this is the main line of defense here. We all seem to be dug in trenches here. We have something over here. Let's have a look at this. So these are leaders. These flags. You have Bretlach and Baum. He's a vanguard, it says, and he's infantry. So if you click this, you'll know who's the boss of who. So he's infantry there. This guy is actually in charge of a lot. He's in charge of actually this cavalry here as well. Yeah, leaders and command ranges are important as well in this game, as you know, all titles. You got to be in command to be able to get units back on track. So we have like a little force here. What do we got? So we have this is light infantry, and they are armed. This infantry, they have muskets. They have a range of 2. They're only worth 6 victory points if they are taken out. So they're worth. That's what the unit is worth. And they're currently deploying in line formation. They're in a forest. Yeah, so light units are units that can move in terrain without being disrupted or and things like that. They sort of maintain their battle status even moving through terrain and stuff. I guess that's the good thing about them. So we have quite a lot of guys here. We have some regular infantry here. These are grenadiers. Grenadiers are. They have muskets range. Yeah, they have a bonus to melee because they're classed as heavy infantry or assault infantry. The grenadiers. It's only 240 men. Usually these are like 500 men or something, but it's kind of a small detachment here. So they're positioned there. They have muskets. So there's a grenadier unit there. Supply is important. You got to keep that in a certain range to resupply the units with. How they exactly work, you're going to have to look up in the manual, but the general idea is to keep your supply wagons close to the fighting in the back so they get regular supply of ammo and stuff like that. So we got that going over there. We got something back here. What's this? We have another formation here. Von Wurben. We have regular, so this is line infantry. These are like the stock infantry here. They're quality C. These guys were quality A, so they're pretty good. They are like sort of elite status in these guys. And so were the grenadiers. We have some artillery back here. We have four 12-pound guns back here. So artillery is interesting because they have quite the range actually. Now, I mean, the range 15. So this artillery guns can fire 15 hexes here. So that's quite a lot, considering a hex is 100 meters. So that's like 1,500 meters. That's quite far. So yeah, we have that going for us here. We have line infantry. We have line infantry standing with these guns as well. Quality C. So restricted means that you cannot make skirmish units out of these guys. You can make skirmish units out of them because they're light. They're restricted as well, the grenadiers. So we got something back here. We got supplies. We have a leader here. He seems to be in charge of this whole thing here. He's just in charge of the infantry here, but this guy is in charge of like the left wing, it says. So he has a, this is, we're gonna have a look at this. This is probably cavalry here. Yeah. So you got basically sort of 3 types of cavalry in the game. These guys are this is like hussars. So they're sort of light cavalry. They are good for scouting and screening and sort of maybe run down routed or disrupted units that are retreating. So they're not like meant to be storming straight into like tight formations. They'll probably get killed. So and they have swords. They fight from horseback there. So we have a couple of those. Yeah, they're worth 10 points. They're worth quite a lot. These horses are actually worth a lot of victory points. So don't get your horses massacred. We have heavy cavalry here. They are they're worth 11 victory points. Yeah, 50 men only a pop there. And heavy cavalry, of course, is good for smashing into. They're more of a melee type of cavalry. They charge in and cause chaos. And then you got dragoons. Dragoons are like, they are also light cavalry, you would say, but they have carbines. They can fire from horseback, and they can deploy, jump off their horses, and sort of act as a makeshift infantry unit that can fire at the enemy. So that's what makes them really special in the cavalry department there. So we have quite a lot of dragoons, lots of dragoons here. These are great for deploying fast and fire at enemy as they're advancing. We do have some more heavy cavalry in the back, and we have some. These are regular cavalry, I think. Yeah, these are like, they're either hussars or they're not dragoons, and they're not heavy cavalry. These are sort of standard cavalry, worth 9 points. 250, quite big formations there. So that's the cavalry department. Was there a leader present? Yeah, there should be. Yeah, we have a leader for the hussars and the heavy cavalry there. We have a cavalry commander here that's in charge of all this. There's probably more. It's actually pretty absent of commanders. There's only one guy here commanding this, and this guy, of course. You can use him as well. So they're pretty meant to be kept quite tight, this formation here. All right, so let's look at the main battle line here. So what do we got? So if you click this, the highlight organization, you can see what all the units that are part of this. So this is like a reserve, it says, but they are part of this whole unit here. It's part of the same stuff. So these are like regular line infantry. They are muskets. They are melee. They get a bonus to melee, so it's pretty good. Quality C there. They're deployed in trenches in the village. They have good defensive positions here, actually. We have some grenadiers here. They're worth quite a bit more, yeah. So these guys are there. We have guns deployed here. We have 6-pounder guns with grenadiers and grenadiers as well. So there's lots of grenadiers here. That's good. It's a pretty solid, strong flank here. Quality A, some of these units have. So they are pretty badass, some of these. Yeah, the grenadiers. We have a commander here. Kreis. He's a reserve. He's the commander for these guys. The supply wagon as well. I don't think there was any more commanders here. There's only one commander here. So he needs to keep all these guys in line here. Right, next formation. This is a long line here. We have grenadiers and infantry, yep, guns. 6-pound artillery there. 6-pounders. Yeah, so they're there. There's the leader there. He's in charge of these guys. Supply wagon. And we have Lacey, a commander here. He is He's in charge. This is actually the main guy here, von Koenigsegg. He's like the commander of the whole shebang here. And I guess this guy is like a general for. He's like his subordinate, or actually not. He's not in charge of these guys here. He's just in charge of this. And here are his separate commanders there. And that's the village there. So these are objective hexes for the Prussians. This is worth 100 points. I guess that's 100 points as well. There's some objectives in the back. That's worth 200 points there. So I guess those are all the objectives on the map. We have artillery deployed here on some hills with some infantry guarding that. There's actually a river there, a creek. Okay, it's a creek. This could be a river, no, a stream. All right. So streams and creeks, no main rivers or anything. All right. So the Prussians are advancing here. We can tell by the D here that these are dragoons. So we know that these guys can ride up and deploy and fire with their muskets there on their carbines. This, we don't know what it is. It could be regular cavalry or it could be heavy cavalry. We don't know. So it's up to the Prussians here, I guess, to make the first move to see what we're going to have to adapt our line to what the Prussians are doing here. So basically, what we got for us, we got some reserves here, or a sort of a cavalry strike force here. That's going to be we're going to have to utilize somehow to our advantage. They're sort of deployed behind this village here. A good thing would be to try to bring them up to be ready to charge out and sort of cause some chaos on the enemy. Could try and do that. Right, so this here is Abatis. What is Abatis? Well, I'm not really sure what it is. It could be some sort of like they are protection here for like pits and stuff for this infantry, so it'll be hard for the enemy to get through here. Sort of this age barbed wire and like defense works, maybe. Gonna have to look it up for the next video there. Right, so let's see how we're doing on time here. Right, we could just do some preliminary turns here, and then I'm gonna end the video. We're gonna kick it off in the next. So it says we have, it's 9 a.m. in the morning as well. Yeah, I forgot to check the time here. So it's early morning, I guess. Defensive phase, we have 20 turns. Visibility is 18 hexes. It's clear weather. What do we need to win this? We already have a major victory on our hands because we're holding all the objectives. So it's up to the Prussians to smash through and take us. And they will get points for the objectives and killing us, basically. So they actually need only 400 points to make it a major here. So they need to capture a few objectives and cause damage here. It's going to be interesting to see what if the computer does something smart here. It's supposed to be scripted, so. What else? What's important to look at here? Yeah, the objectives there. Yeah, there's 3 objectives. 3 objectives, 100. And this was worth 200 there. Okay. Right, so let's see if we can do something here. No, nothing is within range. We just have to end our turn. Let's save it, of course. All right, so now it's the offensive fire for the Prussians. And they probably don't have anything in range, and they can't melee because they don't have any units close to my units. And it's now Austrian turn. It's turn 2, and the Austrians get to go. And we got movement in our hands, so we don't want to move. I think we're fine. What we can do is maybe shift artillery so it's pointing towards where the enemy is coming from. This artillery is actually pointing in that direction there. We can't see much from this position. We can basically guard this hill coming in here, these roads. And this artillery can cover some of this top here, which is pretty good, I guess. We have some here. This artillery are meant to blast enemies as they're getting close, I guess, because they can't see over this hill here. So we are just sort of waiting for the enemy to move in. It's going to be probably a blood feast as they are moving into visibility range here and getting shot to pieces. This artillery unit can fire all the way up here. That's good. I don't think I want to relocate my artillery. I think it's pretty good. It's going to be devastating for the troops as they're moving in here, being shot at the artillery at that close range. These guys what can they see from here anyways? They're sort of covering the flank here. Yeah. I think we're fine with that. Maybe it might be way too early as well to move my cavalry. I could funnel some cavalry maybe here to be ready to it, because moving through buildings is not good with anything but light. All terrain it's crap to move move your units through if they're not light units, because they'll get disrupted. Because they're moving in that tight formation, and the formation will be broken as they're moving through the buildings and fences and gardens and stuff. So they will be sort of disorientated before they can actually form up in a fighting formation again. So, and that's cavalry as well. Cavalry has problems moving through buildings and stuff. Let's see what we have here. So we do have the hussars. Hussars are the light cavalry. I'm kind of tempted to get my dragoons up first. Start forming them up a bit to get ready. Even though the hussars are more of scouts. Actually, let's maybe get the hussars. Let's move them a bit. So moving is same as in all John Tiller titles, I guess. Squad battles to panzer battles and panzer campaigns. You select units by either clicking or double clicking to select the stack, and you click the hexes as you move basically. And one feature I haven't found in this game is the reachable hexes button. I really love that in the panzer campaigns and panzer battles, to be able to see how far I can actually move, and I get an idea of how far. I haven't found it yet in this game. I don't know. I don't think it exists. That feature actually. So you got to look at your movement points and how much you got. So obviously this is clear terrain. It's not going to cost much to move on, and roads are of course even better. So got to keep that in mind. So let's move some of these guys forward a bit. Now, yeah, in this game I noticed that there's no sound effects as you move your units. That's in maybe all the previous titles, all the other titles. There's actually sound, but there's no sound here. You have the background sound, as you can hear, those clickety clacketing of horses and all kinds of like battle sounds. So that would be cool if there was a sound effects you could lay on this. Right, so you see they moved there. They were started at 32, so it actually cost them 4 movement points to get in there. So I'm trying to, I might just want to move them a bit like this. Just trying to get them slowly getting ready. Let's move the leader up there. A good thing also in this game is to keep track of if a unit gets, because they can become disrupted or something as they move, due to their quality. The troops are not the best drilled troops, and C is good though. But when they start taking casualties and stuff, the quality will lower, showing losses and fatigue ratings and stuff. So they can actually become disorientated and disrupted as they move around. Let's move them as a stack here like this. We do have the heavy cavalry here. It's only 100 horses, but still. Let's move them with this force as well. Something like, okay, they cannot move in there. It costs too much. That's actually an elevation there. It's 460 meters. This is a 20 meter sloped hill there. Cost more to move up, but that's fine, I guess. Let's move these slightly forward a bit. Also, moving big stacks like I'm doing now can sometimes not be a good idea. They can become disrupted because there's a lot of units moving in the same hex and they're sort of marching there and things can happen. All right, so that's... I'm happy with that my movement phase. We're going to see what the Prussians are doing here. So let's just end the turn. So they have defensive fire now. And we have offensive fire. And I don't think anything is within range of my artillery. Nope. And I don't think anyone can reach anything. No. So just end the turn. We go into melee phase. We can't melee, so we're going to keep going into Prussian movement. Now the Prussians are moving around. Okay. So it looks like he's scouting ahead or charging ahead with his cavalry there. He's going to find my positions. Okay, there's infantry. There we have some badass Prussian infantry moving in. The Prussians are a bit more badass when it comes to infantry-wise. They got some really good... They actually had some of the best infantry in the world at the time. This conflict broke out. The Prussian infantry, the Prussian army was basically one of the most best drilled and best trained armies at the time. All right, we got defensive fire. Okay, now we can see more here. Right off the bat, we can tell that they have more than 700 men in these blocks. Our biggest are around 550 men, so these are pretty big formations moving up here. So there's some infantry moving there. Can't tell what kind of infantry it is. We have line infantry on top of this hill now. He could probably see me. Yeah, he can spot some of my units now. So they're there. He has a bunch of dragoons moving there. This cavalry is charging forward. So we'll see what happens here. We have defensive fire. Maybe some of our artillery can actually... Now we can fire with one artillery battery, actually. It's a 12-pound battery in our front lines here. So what's good about the artillery dialogue is if you select the unit there, these grayed out ones you can't use, but the ones in black, they can fire. So this is a 12-pound... There's 2 guns in here. Range 15. Yeah, as you can see, the victory is 20. If you look, your guns are worth a lot. If the enemy... They can actually capture your guns and use them against you. So, defend your guns, man. All right, so we have... These are heavy guns. They could probably inflict some good damage. They can fire on this line that's moving in. And these are 700 men a pop there. So let's fire a volley of guns at this advancing infantry. Let's fire at the flank unit here and see what happens. It's quite the range. We only caused about 4 casualties on the enemy there. And they immediately popped down to 600. So we know that they're just about 700 men probably there. Okay, that gun battery fired and 4 men died. Not a lot. See if anything else can fire. Probably not. Nothing is within... I mean, range is only like two hexes. Like the muskets are not that accurate of a gun. And you have to fire mass volleys to actually hit something. So that was first blood to us, I guess. I just want to see what that was worth. Yeah, 4 guys, nothing. just checking. So that was our defensive fire phase, I guess. Let's see what the Prussians do here. We can't see any of the enemy artillery yet. Melee, there will be no melee. And here's our turn. Turn 3, movement phase. All right. So this is a good point to actually end the video here. And we're going to pick it up in the next. So hope you guys are going to be enjoying this. The 7 Years' War. Great title. I'm really fascinating, and I like this. It's a great thing about the John Tiller software that they cover so many different kinds of warfare, different eras of the time. So this is great. So I want to thank you guys for watching there. Hope you guys are going to enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next part. So have a good one.